Yo, what's going on? Back today, we had a brand new video this time, back on stimulus talk and all that good stuff that everyone has been worried about, talking about, and wanting to see what's going on with this bill that has passed the House and is now in the Senate and was told that is pretty much DOA, dead on arrival. But we do have some coming out from Mitch McConnell talking about stimulus, and he has said that he thinks that stimulus is a high possibility of happening in the near future. So basically saying that within probably the summer, maybe somewhere within there, somewhere within the near future. So something that they're not out looking for a long time because it wouldn't help there. We need it now. But he did say there's a high possibility of another stimulus check coming, and he did say also that the 3,000-page bill, I think it is, from the House, he said that's not the answer. He said it's the answer to the stimulus problem with checks and proposals and things is not going to be solved by a 3,000-page liberal wish list, is what he said. So basically, kind of saying that he thinks we need stimulus, and is there stimulus on the way, but he doesn't want it to be some political wish list for either side, where you're trying to cram things into this bill because people need or want help, and you want to stuff politics into it and slow things down, just kind of get a straight path to stimulus and helping people. And as well as McConnell talking about this, we do have Trump talking about stimulus, so all of that add up together is most likely we're going to see another stimulus bill or stimulus package passed, and most likely another stimulus check. But time will tell, and it will tell whether it's a stimulus bill with a stimulus check in it or a bill to kind of incentivize businesses to get rehiring and start actually getting the economy back together. But there's another big thing talking that McConnell brought up, talking about you cannot pay someone more money to be unemployed than be employed, and that's one of the big problems we have right now is everyone's being, the people who are in unemployment are getting paid more to be on unemployment than they are to go back to work. So why would you go back to work if you're making more money by staying home? So he's brought that up and said we need to figure out a way to stop paying people more than what they would make while on unemployment, to incentivize the ability to come back to work, grow the economy back and get it back to going to normal. But you can't do that with having people making more money sitting at home. So the extension of unemployment benefits is probably not going to happen, judging off what he said with that. And I think that you do need to do that. You have to incentivize people to work, because if you get paid more to do something else and then working harder than what you're doing pays you less, why would you do it? It only makes sense. But so hopefully we see that. He did say that unemployment benefits would end if your company that you were laid off from or collect unemployment because of offers you your job back and you decline it, you're actually not eligible for unemployment anymore. So that would bring another incentive too, because now instead of getting paid more, you just be paid nothing. You wouldn't have any income from unemployment. So there's that going. And I mean, hopefully these things actually incentivize people to either get back to work and start, getting back to normal. And one of the stimulus bill checks things that are being talked about before was a $1,200 check, again, for every person in a household. So it would be like you, if you had a husband or wife living with you, you'd both get $1,200. If you had kids, you get $1,200 per kid up to, I think it was 3 kids, or the cap of that would be $6,000 a month. And I mean, that is kind of insane, and I don't know if that would happen, if it would be a reoccurring thing, like monthly up to something that they have planned. I don't know the full details of it, but I know that was the pricing of it. So for, families of 5 or 4 would get $4,800, which is a lot of money, and obviously would help a bunch of people. But again, you got to think of the backside of like, where is this money coming from? How is it going to affect everybody? And like these back end things. And if you can get things back to normal, do you really need it? I know maybe not to that extreme, maybe, because that is a lot of money to just give every household, and we just can't keep printing money, creating money, and going through this cycle. So we got to figure out something to get people back to normal, back to work, back to circulating the economy, and actually bringing things back to normal is, I think, very important. And we do have on Mark Cuban on Twitter, I've been, I follow him, and I've seen him tweeting about the CARES Act portion of the PPP, and the small business loans are actually still available. And he said $100 billion is still available for small businesses. And he's been saying he's working on trying to work with banks to get them to get this money out, because apparently banks are just saying there's no more funding so that they don't have to let out these loans or something along that line. And it doesn't make sense to why they would be doing that or whatnot in my head, but he's been constantly berating on Twitter, talking about any small business owners need to go back to banks, go apply for these loans again, because they're not out of money, and there's money still there. So hopefully you can get that sorted out, because I think that'll help a lot of people, a lot of business owners, small business owners, get through a little bit of payroll stuff, and keeping their up costs so they don't go bankrupt and out of business, because that is a huge problem right now. We're seeing is the small businesses are getting hammered, and a lot of them are saying they don't think they're going to be able to come out of this, and they're going to have to close their doors for good, which is not going to be good at all. So helping them and finding a way to help them is super important. They do make up like 33 or 35% of the economy. And when things slow down like they are, like corporations, like big corporations, big companies aren't hiring anymore, that's when small businesses come in and help, and they hire people and continue doing that and working like that. So that's like the trade-off right there. And without them, you'd have big corporations, big companies that aren't hiring as much. So instead of there being a surplus of jobs that we've had in a while, meaning wages go up, they have to be more competitive to get workers to actually come work for them, because there's more jobs available. There's going to be a surplus of workers and not enough jobs, so they're going to be able to pay less for those jobs and just not have to be as competitive, because there's another worker who will come take your place with no problem, whereas that hasn't been the case for a long time. And the way they structure this stimulus check, if there's another one to come, most likely going to, but if they do structure it as the way they did before, the one before was a tax credit, meaning you don't have to pay taxes on it. So I'd be curious to see if they do one like that again, or give the money, but you still have to pay taxes. That's how unemployment works. You still have to pay the taxes on that money you're getting. The stimulus check, you didn't have to pay taxes on it. Unemployment, you do have to pay taxes on it, so you have to account for that and save money for that, because it doesn't take it out automatically like when you get a paycheck or something. But we'll see. That could be a big problem if they do a stimulus check where you have $5,000 a month going to people, but it's not a tax credit, so it's taxable. At the end of the year, people aren't going to be accounting for that money being taxable, and I don't think a lot of people even know that they would have to pay taxes on it if they did have to pay taxes. Like last one you didn't, but if you did, I don't think a lot of people would save the money for taxes, because you can't really calculate. It's hard to calculate exactly how much you need, but I don't think people will be able to save the money for taxes or even think about doing it, which will cause a pretty big problem in and of itself at the end of the year. But moving on from all of this types of stuff, we do have that stimulus talk, and it is interesting to see what's going on, and most likely seeing another check, seeing what the amount will be and how it's structured. But stocks, I want to talk a little bit of stock at the end of this video, just to kind of go over things and go over the market. For this last week was a really good week. For like 2 or 3 days were extremely good. There was one red day and then one slightly green day, and the other 3 were just massively good days. So I want to talk about these. One stock in particular that I am in, got in, and glad I got in because it took off, is Disney. And I think Disney is extremely underrated and underpriced right now, because a lot of people are scared of the theme parks being out for a long time, which is a lot of revenue for Disney. But they've slowly started to reopen ones around the world. They're in talks to reopen. I think they might have actually already reopened ones in Florida with restrictions of masks and different types of ways that you can go into the park, and restrictions how many people can be in the park at once. So that coming around is going to be really great news and kind of spark this uptick right now from, we saw Disney go from like 102 to 118 or 120 almost. But I think a lot of people aren't counting in Disney Plus and aren't pricing in Disney Plus into the stock because it's so new, and the parks and stuff that is out of business right now or closed is scaring people a lot. But Disney Plus is making a ton of money. They have like 25 million users or something like that already, and that would account for $7 billion a year in revenue for them, and as well as their platform that they've just announced on Disney Plus to release movies, and bypassing the theaters because those aren't all super active and limited capacity, will limit ticket sales and all that kinds of stuff. So releasing it on Disney Plus will bring in a better way for people to go and view it just at home, and obviously it'll bring up their numbers for viewers and stuff because theaters at half capacity aren't going to really sell tickets and really bring up those viewership numbers that they look at when they release a film. So I think Disney Plus isn't priced in. I think it's still a great time to buy. Disney is also one of the only like big blue chip stocks out there that really aren't even near recovered yet, whereas like you see Apple is already really pushing its all-time price before the fall of like 320. Microsoft is actually almost above its price before the fall. You see other stocks are just really getting either close to where they were before it fell, or they're already over it, and Disney's not. So I think there's a ton of room for it to grow, and I think it's going to be a good buy for a lot of people, and if you're willing to hold it, it'll be a good buy. But guys, as always, don't forget to smash that sub button. We're on the road to 1,000 subs, and smash that like button to like the video. Let me know if you did like it or whatnot, and if you didn't like it, comment below what you didn't like or what you have different ideas about, and I will see you guys in my next video.